You guys know and love him, one of the most prolific comedians working right now. Put your hands together for Josh Johnson!
It's funny how sometimes people like enter your life without you ever meeting them. Like you don't get to know them, but you hear stories about this person through the people that you know or a friend of a friend, but then they just keep coming up and you feel like they're in your life, even though you've never met them. You wouldn't know them on the street if you saw them, right? There was a guy like that for me named Marty. I never met Marty. Wouldn't have been able to track him down if you gave me a 23andMe and a genealogy test or something like that. I knew Marty through stories, because Marty had an interesting life. This dude spent a bunch of time in France. He was American born, lived in France for a long time, learned French super fluently, and apparently he told one of his friends, this is how I heard the story, that he dreamed in French. Like he spoke English, obviously, and he lived in the States again, but his dreams would just be full of people speaking French at different points and stuff. And it came up because here in the US, he met someone and they fell in love, but she was French. So went all the way to France, didn't meet anybody. Came back here, met a French woman, right? And there was a day where Marty, he basically, in a nutshell, forgot his girlfriend's birthday. It was their first year together, so we're still like been dating some months, but hanging out all the time and everything. I said, my birthday, you're supposed to remember, that's part of the relationship quiz. And it kept seeming like maybe there was a surprise waiting or he was pretending to have forgotten or something. And then he went and took a nap. Yeah, not only did you forget my birthday, you napping in my face. And then I guess when she realized that he genuinely did forget, she woke him up. And she woke him up mad. And when she was mad, she'd go straight to French, right? Because she'd be so mad she wasn't putting it in English for him. And so he woke up to his girlfriend yelling at him in French. So he thought he was still dreaming. So wakes him up. Can't believe you forget my birthday. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? You over here playing in my face all day? All in French. I'm paraphrasing. And then he was squinting, real tired, and was looking up at her and just wonders, I guess, to himself, am I having a dream right now? And so he casually, while she's yelling at him, puts his finger in her mouth. I don't know if you ever had somebody forget your birthday before, but you definitely have not had them put their finger in your mouth as you were letting them have it. And there was like felt like dozen funny stories like that about Marty. Marty was an interesting dude, and he just moved in different circles than me. Never met Marty or anything. But Marty got older, got married, had some kids and stuff. And then Marty got sick, and Marty had cancer. And, there were some treatments that they could try, but it wasn't looking good, and his insurance wasn't gonna cover it, and he couldn't do it out of pocket, and Marty passed away. And it's crazy because one of the other things about Marty that people talked about was how he was like a good boss. It's sometimes hard to be a good boss because people don't like being bossed around. Like people don't enjoy someone telling them what to do, but somebody got to tell you what to do if we all work here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just show up to work and be like, you figure out whatever you feel like. Nothing would get done. Like, there do need to be bosses sometimes in certain situations. It's just how you are a boss, you know? Like, there are certain managers that I've had in my life that, honestly, I had the easy job, and they still made it hell, because they were hell to be around, you know? There's nothing like having an easy job that you know is an easy job. I could do this in my sleep, but I gotta do it next to a jerk. That's the worst, you know? You know those people, got time to lean, got time to clean. And this is another thing I have to accept about bosses, I have to accept about managers. There are some jobs where genuinely, it's in the handbook, it's like part of the job. The job makes you kind of come off like, or maybe turn into a bastard. Do you know what I mean? Because there are policy handbooks of companies where if you got time to lean, you got time to clean is in the book. They just quoting. So there are some jobs where you got to be a monster to do them. And there are some jobs that make you a monster, you know? I was thinking about that when the shooting in New York happened. I know. Because for me, in case you didn't know, in case you somehow have not been on Earth, there was a shooting in New York. Basically, this dude walked up behind CEO of United Healthcare, and he shot him several times, and then he went off, right? But apparently he had been camped out there waiting. That dude walks past him. He goes, pop, 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 pop. And then he jumps on, apparently, a city bike, which is not advisable. And then he heads over to Central Park and disappeared into the night/day, because it was day. It was broad daylight, too. That's also what felt so insane about it. It happened during the day. You gotta understand, there's New York day things and New York night things. We usually keep the shootings after dark. And when it happened, it shook everything up. Everyone was obsessed. The news was obsessed. The news was obsessed when it happened. The news was like, finally, we have something to talk about that's not Trump. Oh, wow. What a day. So the news talked about it all day. The news talked about it nonstop. The news would even have people on to discuss it who clearly were just finding stuff out in the moment with us on the news. They would bring the expert on and then play the clip. And then the expert would watch the clip and be like, damn, it's like you. You were supposed to know, sir. That's why you're on the news. The news was absolutely obsessed, right? The news even did a thing that I've never seen before that I very much resented, because I'm just gonna be honest with you. This entire time, I'm just gonna be telling you how I feel. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. I'm not gonna judge how anyone feels. I'm just talking about myself, right? When I saw it happen, when I saw that video footage that they played, when I saw that dude walk up and pull out a gun and point it at that CEO, I thought to myself, thank God those are white hands. Oh. When I saw those lily white hands, when I saw those pearly white hands, I thought to myself, what a white sight. What a beautiful white thing to happen that does not have anything to do with me, that should not blow back on me at all. What a white moment in America. And then in their obsession, continually, over and over again, describing what happened, going over what happened, the news did something. CBS this morning showed the clip. They showed this man walk up, pull out the gun, and they said on CBS in the morning, a light-skinned man. No. No, light skin. When has the news ever said light skin? What's next, CBS? Red bone? Light skin. I was horrified. No, you know, if it had been a black person, they would say black, because they love saying black. Anytime a black person does something, the news is like, this black. This black was last seen at the scene of the crime. You know this black. If you've seen this particular black, call this number so you can report him for his blackety-black crime. Guys, light skin. The news was obsessed with it, top to bottom. You could not watch anything else. I'm sure stuff was happening everywhere in the world, but you wouldn't know it. Just kept circling this one block in Manhattan, and people were obsessed with it. Us, were obsessed with it. It's all I heard people talking about. People who I know don't watch the news, people who I know don't really care about current events. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on social, online. Everyone was talking about it. People were so obsessed that the backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out. Because in America, everything is an ad, including murder. People were so obsessed. You know, like those Timothy Chalamet lookalike contests they've been having in New York? A bunch of white people got together, because they knew he was white. A bunch of white people got together in the park and all dressed like the shooter and had a shooter lookalike contest. And it's been done in comedy before. I understand. It's a joke that's well-worn. White people be like this. Black people be like this. But can I just say, as a black person, we have never, as black people, watched the news, seen the suspect, and then went outside specifically dressed as the suspect. We've never watched the morning, the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the midnight news and been like, oh, that's a good fit right there. Let me make sure I got it right. A red bandana. Okay, I need a red one. Right. That's just how you can tell being white is a different experience, because these white people racially profiled themselves for fun. That's just having a time. So the news was obsessed, and people were obsessed, and CEOs were obsessed. CEOs were like, what? What happened? Oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't know each other? Kids, he just did that in broad daylight to one of us? CEOs started making moves, man. CEOs of all the healthcare companies started taking down all of their profiles. All of their LinkedIns were just back to factory settings. And look, I need to be clear about something. I mean, you're gonna glean this off of me the entire time. I don't want anybody to die, right? I don't celebrate death in any way, right? But I will say, if you feel in the wake of this thing happening, like you have to scrub all mention of you, all knowledge of your existence off of the internet, then maybe, just maybe, take a look at how you do business, take a look at the person. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen this thing before in a different way. Okay, so I had a buddy who, I went to his apartment for the first time, and this dude, I understand taking precautions, because that's what they will say they were doing. They were like, we don't know the motive, we don't know why this person would do this thing, we don't know who they are, we don't know if they're gonna come for one of us, so we try to protect ourselves, you know, we just take everything on. And that's what this guy was doing. I went to his house for the first time, went to his place, and he had 6 locks on his door. At 6 locks, something needs to change. At 6 locks, you either need to move or change your ways, all right? Because this dude had 6 locks. He was dealing a little bit of drugs and stuff, but I was like, 6 is, come on. What are you doing? It takes you a minute and a half to open the door. I can hear it. You hear chains, you hear all stuff. You know? I was like, isn't this worse for you? You really worried somebody coming to get you? You got 6 locks. You sure you won't get killed trying to get in? But that happened, and the news was having trouble thinking of a motive. The news, they were like, why? Why would anyone? Why? Who could it be? You know? Police were having trouble coming up with a motive when they went on the news. They were like, we have no idea why this individual would do something like this. CEOs could not think of a motive. They were like, but we're us. I thought everybody loved us. Everybody wants to be us. Why would somebody come after us, right? You see it on the news. And this is also, I'm not gonna lie, this is how you can tell the news is owned by billionaires. Because the news was like this devastating, terrifying, harrowing attack in New York. And I'm not saying, look, a murder did take place. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been listed as those things. I'm just saying you're the news. Like, you are the mainstream media. You play horrific stuff all the time. You're the same news that when those pages were going off on those people in the Middle East exploding, you were like, check this out. Isn't that wild? The moment 1,000 pages went off and killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That same news is like, we still don't know who or why or what or how. No, police couldn't think of a motive. CEOs couldn't think of a motive. CEOs of other healthcare companies couldn't seem to think of a motive. This thing happened the same week as one of the main insurance providers was saying out loud with their full chest, we gonna stop doing anesthesia if you take too long. You better which, by the way, is not up to the patient. That's also one of the most insane things about that new policy they were gonna try out. I've never had to administer anesthesia to myself. That's just heroin. Yeah, if your surgery takes too long, it's not like they're there, by the way. It's not like they have to wait on you in the waiting room or something. If your surgery takes too long, we're gonna charge extra to put you back under. If your surgery takes too long, we might not cover more anesthesia. What? In what world did we think you could pay for health insurance and then you wake up during, who knows, whatever serious surgery you're having, and then your doctor has to be like, hey, do you have like 650? Because if not, I know you're a little groggy, but can you understand me right now? I know you're literally open, but can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't have it, that's okay. I got a stick. We can Civil War this right now. The stick is $20 though, so it's... Couldn't think of a motive, you know? And the CEOs as well, when you look at this guy, you look at this dude, I don't think anyone was ready. I don't think the news was ready. I don't think the police were ready. I don't think the rich were ready for how, like, on the shooter's side the public was. Do you know what I mean? Like, how absolutely, unequivocally on his side. Immediate. I didn't know it had happened and there were already jokes. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. You know? The people, I'm not gonna say as a whole, because I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but for the most part, were on the shooter's side. They don't know the motive. They don't know why he did this thing, but they were glad that it happened. And so out of it, you get these CEOs, you get these rich people going on the news and really campaigning, being like, look, the CEO, this man was a father, this man was a husband, this man, and they really appealed to the humanity of this CEO. And there were people who heard that appeal, and they said, yeah, no, I know he was a person, so was my cousin. So was my brother, so was my sister, so was my friend. You know what I mean? This man had children. He leaves children behind. This is a senseless death. It did not have to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, I know about I know about avoidable deaths. You know? I'm a customer. I know people who have died these avoidable deaths because it took too long to get their medicine, took too long to get the treatment. Maybe it wasn't covered. Maybe they're on the phone forever. This man was a father. He was a husband. Okay, so was Marty. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that people are wrestling with, the thing that we're all trying to contend with in how we feel about this thing, because people want to feel like good people. We know that murder is wrong. We know that death is a tragedy, right? Because to me, personally, when I look at any death, when I look at any killing in that way, I personally look at it as a loss and a tragedy, because as long as someone is alive, there's potential. There's potential to turn things around. There's potential to change. And then if you lose that potential, then your story gets cut short and maybe things would have turned around. I'm not saying that they would have, but the thing that we're all wrestling with is that a murder did happen. Someone killed someone in cold blood. They just didn't kill an innocent man. Do you know what I mean? That's also what feels so conflicting about it. Like, a killer killed a killer. This dude was the CEO. A lot of people died under his watch, through his policy, through what United Health does. You know? There are a lot of people that are gone, and when you can when you can see an act happen in real time, it's very easy to look at it, be shocked by it, and call it murder. When you can spread all of the culpability, when you can spread all of the actions across thousands of individuals and a whole system, now somehow it's nobody's fault, you know? And like you look at someone like Brian Thompson, that CEO, that dude was to himself probably, I'm assuming, just good at his job. It's his job to make the company money. I don't know what CEO, outside of maybe like a gun manufacturer, wakes up and wants people to die. Like, I don't know. I don't know what CEO wakes up. These CEOs, they work 80-hour weeks and they don't see their families and everything, but they do it because of their obsession to succeed and to build up the company, to make the company successful, to give back to the shareholders, all the reasons they come up with. And if some people die along the way, then that sort of is what it is, right? But this dude, make no mistake, he was a killer. He was such a good killer that the company was like, damn, Brian. Damn, you cold-blooded. We need to make you CEO. Wow, you don't care. You don't care at all. Women, kids, you get them all. Wow, Brian. He got promoted the way a gang member becomes a leader, you know? You're the coldest one out here. You know? It's tough. It's really tough. It's hard. It's also hard because when you talk about it or whenever you're feeling what you're feeling, you don't want to. We're all human, but you don't want to lose your humanity. You know, like you don't want to get so spiteful that you lose some of yourself. You know, and so this dude, they're looking for him, and it's hard because the people are on his side. There's literally people dressing up as him, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like some of the cops were even on his side because the cops were on a manhunt for him in Central Park and they weren't looking hard. Dude, they weren't. Like, did you, if you saw the news and you saw them in Central Park, I've never seen a more lackadaisical hunt in my life. There were cops in Central Park. This is being shot. They see the camera and they know what's going on the news, and they were still like, he ain't in this bush. Where else is there to look? No. Oh. It's hard, you know. And it's also difficult because you want to have empathy for everybody if possible. You want to see every angle if possible. But this one is tough in a way because of what Brian was. Just a representative, by the way. That dude just is one of the dudes. Nothing changed. He's one of the dudes. And he can be one of the dudes because the system's already there. So it's not as if doing anything to him does anything to the whole, right? I mean, I will say, I do think they roll back that anesthesia thing. That did happen. Maybe they'll go through with it later, but for the time being, it seemed like they were like, ooh, okay. You know? But he's allowed to be where he is, how he is, because of the system at play. A system, by the way, who didn't care about Brian either. Let's be honest about that. You know? Because that man was headed to a meeting when he was murdered. And investors still had the meeting. That's how it works. They were getting notifications on their phone that Brian was outside, and they were like, ugh, so the minutes. How's next quarter looking? You know what I mean? That's why it's not worth it. You know? When you put that much profit over the person, you were also lost in that thing, right? And I think that's a harrowing thing. I think for CEOs, that was like a terrifying moment, because it was the first time that they saw that we see them the way they see us. Do you know what I mean? That's gotta be scary. Because for them, make no mistake, for them, we're not clients, we're not consumers, we're not customers, we're not even users. None of the names that they put in their reports, none of the things that they say to their shareholders, we're numbers. We're an account number, we're this thing. Which is why when we go away, when we disappear, when we die, it doesn't really mean anything to them, because they never really saw us. And then the response to this shooter, this like overwhelming positive response on social, I'm not saying it was everybody, but a lot of people, it was kind of this wake-up call that we don't see them as people either, which is, that's scary. That's a scary place to be in, you know? Because when you would see it on the news and the news described it, let's not mince words. It was a murder. The man was murdered. You know what I mean? And the news would describe it as if it was the singular event in history, this horrific crime that took place in the streets of New York in broad daylight, this harrowing attack. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that the woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill. It was one of the most New York things I've ever seen. For someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me. And so then they catch the shooter, right? And when they caught the shooter, I was at a coffee shop, and everyone got a notification on their phone. We weren't all talking to each other, just different. You could see everybody was either already on their phone or pulling their phone, but I heard beeps, I heard all the little notification noises. And then in this coffee shop, I'm not even kidding, there was a collective, "Aw." Oh, that's the noise you make if the baby hippo Mudang dies. That was wild. Oh, yeah, they caught him in a McDonald's. And there was footage of him on the news later in that McDonald's eating a hash brown. And when I saw that, I was like, wait, he's eating a hash brown at McDonald's. He's eating McDonald's hash brown. So it had to be before 10:30. He's eating a McDonald's hash brown, which means somebody woke up early to snitch. Damn, barely awake at 9 o'clock. I don't know. Blinking. Oh, that must be him. Let me make the call. You know? And what's even crazier about that is apparently, at least as of the time I am talking to you, it looks like that McDonald's worker that called him is not going to get the reward money. Which, wow. Is not gonna get the reward money. And people were looking it up. The person was like, why wouldn't I get the reward money? Everything. Apparently, what they were told and what the internet says is like, actually the process of collecting reward money for turning someone in is very complicated, because there's an amount that has to be it has to be approved by 2 different bodies, and one body approved the $10,000, but when it got up to like 50, 60, it wasn't approved by both bodies. So then when they turned him in, they may not get anything at all, actually, because there's so much confusion around how much to give them or if it's the full amount. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of wild to me, because there was no confusion when they called and they were like, nigga here. So y'all coming, or? That was very straightforward. There weren't any other things you needed to check before you came and picked them up, you know? That's why they in my opinion, they did it wrong, you know? If you're gonna call and you're gonna tell people that he's here, don't call the police right away. Get your money up. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I think I might have eyes on your boy. And we don't know what he gonna do next, so what are you thinking, 50, 60? I'm just wondering how much he's worth to you, you know what I mean? Because I could make some other calls if you want. I can call a couple different people. There are about 6 providers. Y'all got a real monopoly going on, so. Okay, because he might be here, he might not. Hurry up. It looked like he leaving. I always thought it was very straightforward. You know, there's a reward out for a fugitive, and then you turn in the fugitive and you get the reward. That's how it happens in all the Westerns. You know what I mean? But then they're like, oh, no, actually, I'm the FBI and the local police have to decide on an amount, and then there's like an arbitration process and everything. It's just so funny that, like, this whole thing happened, and then them trying to get their money just sounds like an insurance claim. You know? So then they come and they catch the dude, and he has everything with him. He's got his backpack with him, gun in his backpack, 4 fake IDs and everything. And it's kind of wild because so many people, when the attack first happened, thought this dude must be an assassin. How do you get out of New York? This man was in Manhattan. He did a shooting, and now no one knows where to find him. In New York, a police state with surveillance everywhere. The man was on an island. And he got off, and they couldn't find him. He must be a genius. And then you find him at 10:02 in McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, with hash brown crumbs all over his face. And then people went from calling him a genius, like, oh, he's so dumb. He's the dumbest man that's ever lived. Look, I think all this proves is one thing. When you read history and you look back, some of these people, because there have been individuals out there saying, you say he's a killer, I say he's a freedom fighter. There are some people that think he's a revolutionary and everything. Let's just say this. This is proof that even when you read a history book, revolutionaries were just sort of figuring it out as they went. You know what I mean? I'm sure Che Guevara had his days where he was like, y'all, I don't know. Whatever y'all want to do, I guess. They see the fake IDs, they question them, they bring them in and everything. And his name is Luigi Mangione, or Mangiani, or Mangione. There's so many different ways I've heard his name pronounced that I'm not positive the name he going by wasn't just one of those fake IDs. Like, that's the most cartoonish name I've heard in years. Luigi Mangione. It sounds like you making fun of an Italian person. Luigi already wild. He don't even go by Luigi. And they put his picture all over the news and everything, and it turns out that he is very good looking. Like, just upsettingly good looking, almost objectively in a way. Like, crazy. Everything in its right place and everything's good. Strong eyebrows with a big smile and everything, and just all the pictures. Because you know when the news catch you, when the police catch you, they try to put up some, depending on who you are. This usually happens to black people, but it happens to white people once in a while too, where they try to find the craziest picture they can of you. And I think they tried, but it was tough work because he is a good-looking individual. Every picture looked good. He would just be with model rockets, looking like a model. Like, it was crazy. They take his mug shot, and the mug shot looked like a cologne ad. Like, that's... That was upsetting to me as a fellow man. I was like, y'all gotta get one bad pic, please. One bad picture? He was doing everything in that mug shot but biting his lip. Like, you've seen the mug shot. My man was... Mugshot's supposed to be simple. Mugshot's supposed to be your face and your profile. Your face and your profile. Your height. It's supposed to be very quick and easy, you know? This man was so good looking, they took extra mugshots. There's some that are like a little lower than him where he looking down. Like... There's some up high where he just like, you can tell, even the mugshot photographer was like, now do it like you're a bad boy. They tried so hard to get a bad picture of him that they took stills from video. They tried to take stills from video because that usually gets people. You take a still from a video and somebody was blinking weird. Okay, normally people blink with both eyes at the same time. Every once in a while, like let's say you mid-yawn or something, or you're chewing, one eye might close before the other eye. And if you catch me in this moment, I look a little off, something going on with me. And now if you tell people I killed a bunch of people, you're like, I can see it. I can see it on... That's what the other eye is hiding, is secrets. That's why it's closed like that. Okay. They tried... This man was being led to the jailhouse through what looked like a tunnel, and he getting pushed by police through a tunnel, and he's screaming. And they took stills from that, and those still looked good. Good screaming. This man's getting pushed through the tunnel, yelling back at the media, going, ah, like just... I'll show you right now. What about that was sexy? And people already thirst trapping. If we thought Ted Bundy got letters. It was insane. It was very aggravating. And then every picture looked good to the point where editors and media consultants and stuff like that were like, stop putting pictures out of him. That's how good he looked. They were like, stop. You botched it. don't put out another picture. And you could tell that the newspapers were getting aggravated because these newspapers and these media companies are owned by billionaires who are terrified right now of what's happening. And they see the public lauding this dude as a hero, and they're trying to get at least something. The cops literally had to tase this dude, so he pissed himself, so he took one bad photo. But even in that one, you're like, aw. I just know that there was somebody at a newspaper flipping out going, y'all can't do your job? Y'all can't take one bad photo of this man? Everything gotta be in focus? You can't even make it blurry? But I'm not gonna lie, when they caught that dude, I felt, everything started to come back up top, like surface level again, where I felt bad for a lot of different people, you know? I did feel bad for Brian Thompson's kids, because you don't pick who your daddy is, you know? And to a certain degree, I even felt bad for the shooter, because I'm like, you're 26, and you have money, something happened. Something happened. You're smart. You have your whole life ahead of you with all of this opportunity. You disappeared for some time, and now you do something happened, you know? But I felt especially bad, like really, really bad for women. Because finally there was a good-looking, rich, well-read man who has nothing to do with Hollywood, but he does murder some. So, I mean, I could just see somebody trying to defend him. Just women defend their men too hard sometimes. Just like, he just did one. It was just one murder, okay? He can't even murder a little, like. You judging me because my man your man cheat, all right? How about that? Felt bad for a lot of people when it happened, when it became like surface level real again. It wasn't just this like spy crime mystery thing. It was like back down to earth with real people. I also feel very bad for anybody else who got shot that day. It's New York. A lot of people get shot in New York every day. Imagine you get shot in New York. Ow, they got me, right? And you holding it. And let's say you're an artist. So you actually do your own police sketch of your shooter. And then you hobble your way over to the police station and you put it from like, look, that's exactly what he looked like. I had a lot of time to draw it. Can you go looking? And then the police look at you and be like, sorry, this other thing's sort of an all hands on deck. You know? But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, you know, there was even a lot of talk about which CEOs in this whole thing were safe. Do you know what I mean? Because like healthcare CEOs were on high alert, but I'm not gonna lie, you know, Luigi, he went to Starbucks and then he did that murder and then he hopped on a city bike and he left New York and everything. If you the CEO of Starbucks, you gotta be like, oh, thank goodness. You know, Starbucks does stuff too. Starbucks, they love that labor. They love that cheap labor. So for you to go to Starbucks before you take out a CEO, I'm not gonna lie, you might as well shot that man with an iPhone. Like, what are you doing? And then he gets found at a McDonald's. I'm sure the CEO of McDonald's is like, oh, thank God, okay. I was always good, yes. You know, CEOs are freaking out, across the board. Who would have thought? Who would have thought CEOs were family? Do you know what I mean? Like, and let's be clear about something. Don't mistake the different CEOs that commented on this, the ones that stayed scared, the ones that appealed to a different way of doing things while they keep doing everything the same way. Don't mistake their self-preservation for empathy. Right? Because those CEOs, they know. And it's not even as if people hated people because they were rich. They hated a system that destroyed people's lives, Because Luigi is rich. Luigi is so rich. When I found out how rich he was, that's so rich. The dude's family owns 2 country clubs. Look. Why do you think I came? This dude's family owns 2 country clubs. This is just me outside looking in. I didn't even know you could own a country club. I thought it was owned by the country. I had no idea, because usually people don't put their name on the country club they own. It's not like it's Rick's Country Club. Like, that's crazy that Luigi's family had more money than the CEO, but then the CEO comes from like humble beginnings and has more money than Luigi does personally. And so it became this whole thing where some people started turning on Luigi and then rooting for the CEO. It was odd because people got too wrapped up in the money. But for me, it's not the money specifically. It wasn't about who's rich and who has more money than who. It was about a system that destroys people's lives, It was about the fact that some jobs make you a monster and there are some jobs you have to be a monster to do. You know what I mean? And so for me, I don't even care that Luigi is rich, because the people, right? The people that love that it happened, the people that didn't care that it happened, the people that just wanted some taste of revenge for how healthcare and health insurance has destroyed their life. We use healthcare and health insurance interchangeably, but I think you know what I mean, how these insurance companies take the good work of doctors, the good work of nurses, and they make it so it's inaccessible, And I think that the CEOs were scared, but let's be honest, not all CEOs were scared. I'm pretty sure the CEO of Ben and Jerry slept pretty good this entire time. Nobody was calling for all the CEOs. Nobody wanted to get Ben or Jerry. We were both very happy with those individuals. You also have a year where whistleblowers who try to stand up to power, and a system, not just like one person, right? Because that's what I think a lot of CEOs don't understand, and why a lot of news media didn't understand about how the people feel, is that there were people who tried to do things the right way. They whistle-blew, hey, this company is doing this thing. It's either putting your life in danger or it's stealing from you. And then all of a sudden, 2024 seemed to be the year of whistleblowers turning up dead. You know what I mean? Look at the Boeing whistleblower. That dude turns up dead when he's supposed to testify in the thing he already risked his life to do, and you're telling me he just mysteriously died in the parking lot of his hotel room that nobody knew he was staying at? Come on now. Come on. And then my man is blowing the whistle on a bunch of stuff we already know. He's like, the door gonna fly off. We heard. And then another whistleblower dies, and another whistleblower dies. And then just today, the whistleblower that blew the whistle on OpenAI was found dead in his apartment. And so, yeah, I think that people, as in individuals just generally in the world, are scared. They're scared of what happens when you stand up to power. They're scared of what happens when you try to do what seems like the right thing, And these powerful people step in and we don't know, but it looks pretty obvious. what happens? And I think for me, at least to me, people, all of us, are like mirrors of each other. And right now, the mirror's like shattered a little bit. If you put up two mirrors next to each other, you make an infinite image, right? In both directions. But if you crack just one of the mirrors, you've cracked the whole infinite image, you know? And so the way that they see us, not as people, not as people who they should take care of because we are their customers, we are their consumers. We gave them money in good faith for insurance, for our health, and then you deny when I need something. I've been paying all this money. If I had just saved the money and put it aside, I might have enough myself. And now you're standing in the way of me and my health, and you don't think that there's going to be any blowback with that? You don't think anything is going to happen next? That's wild. We're in a time where you see like Josh Shapiro come up and be like, this guy was not a hero. Let me be clear. Sure, fair enough. I'm with you. All right. But you have to pass legislation. You have to get it through. And don't let a lobbyist sway you, and don't let a lobbyist sway your colleagues. You have to do something then. Because I cannot stress enough how scary it is, how much of an inevitability we're heading to. You know what I mean? If you look at history alone, all by itself, is a playbook for some people, is a cautionary tale for other people. I think a lot of the answer to what we're facing is in history. It's in Versailles. And when you read the history of Versailles, you read the history of French Revolution, it's very apparent that, you know, whether it's police, whether it's an army, guards, whatever it is, they protect the powerful, not the people. You know, and the only reason that the people won in the French Revolution, in my opinion, is because the army's guns took like a Seinfeld episode to reload. Like, say, yeah, you can probably get them up out of there real quick. Like you go to, I went to Versailles. I went there, and it is beautiful. It's a testament. It's a monument to like what people can accomplish. But it's all one man's wealth. You know, it's all for the king. But the gardens are beautiful. Inside is beautiful. The mirrors, everything. It's decadent. It's when I walked in, I was like, wow, I get how this can happen. I get how you could have everything in the world and you want to make something like this and it's still not enough. You want to add to it. You want to build more, build better. You see the king's bedroom. You see where Marie Antoinette, her, it's like you see so much. And then you walk through the thing and you also are like, oh yeah, I can also see how if you were hungry enough and you broke in here and you saw what they did, you would probably grab everybody. It doesn't make it right, but France was headed towards an inevitability. You know what I mean? And if you get on TV and you say, this is wrong, this is absolutely wrong, okay, I agree with you. But what are you gonna do now? What's the plan? Like, politicians cannot afford to do nothing. CEOs cannot afford to do nothing. And the people cannot afford to do nothing. And if the last part scares you, you might be on the wrong side of history, you know? But that's a tough thing too, because now there's a lot of people saying like, all right, you got them, but good luck finding a jury. Good luck finding a jury that wasn't hurt by Brian Thompson. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because now, to me, all Luigi has to do is show up in court and be like, y'all, I tried to call and tell him I was crazy, but they kept me on hold for so long. They kept me on hold for so long, I figured maybe I'll just go talk to him personally.
Give it up for Josh Johnson. I've been loving getting to watch in real time the indictment of New York Mayor Eric Adams. This dude sucks so much. It's so bad. This dude sucks. I don't know who your mayor is, but be glad it's not Eric Adams. This dude is the worst. He's so corrupt. And it's like corruption. This is what's disappointing about Eric Adams' corruption, is that it's like petty. Do you know what I mean? We expect politics to be corrupt. It says a lot that we do, but a part of us, do you know what I mean? And what does that say about us to a certain degree? I think about that a lot. What does that say about our expectations, that we expect corruption? You know what I mean? At lots of levels. You know, city councilman did this thing, president did this thing, whatever it is, we expect it. And then when people run, we don't really believe in them. Maybe if someone can make us believe in them along the way, that's the person that we vote for, because we're like, wow, this person's different. But different from what? The expectation is corruption, you know? And he's corrupt in a way that's truly disappointing. It's a shame. It's embarrassing how easy a politician is to buy. You could lease a new Subaru, or you could buy a politician depending on the position of the state. The things these people go down for, we're talking not money if we're talking politics, right? Like if I was a senator and I wanted to be corrupt, you'd have to get me good. You have to take care of me, because I might lose my job. I might go to jail. I need a nest egg to protect me. You know, something to look forward to while I'm in jail doing all that time for doing you a favor and being corrupt. Like, that's why I don't agree with it, and I'm glad he's going down for it. But Menendez makes sense. He took gold bars. That's cartoonish corruption. That is like full on 1950s cartoon corruption. That is New Yorker political cartoon corruption, to just take actual gold bars. Where do you get gold bars from? And then take the gold bars to do the favor for the person. This is what's funny about Eric Adams being indicted, is that New York City is, and this is coming from someone who lives there, and I do love it in New York, right? But New York is a dirty place, all right? Inside and out, okay? It's one of the more corrupt places. So to be the first mayor to ever be indicted with corruption charges in New York City, you gotta be one of the dumbest people who has ever lived. It's a city of corruption, and you got caught. That's crazy. Sometimes I can't believe it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he couldn't believe it. He was like, y'all, this is what we do. How y'all gonna get mad now? I did the regular amount of corruption. I didn't even go overboard. I got some flights upgraded. Why would y'all? No, it is that dumb. This dude, Eric Adams' corruption is so petty. This dude about to go to jail because he let Turkey upgrade some flights for him. He basically is gonna go to jail for what is Delta Gold Medallion. Like, it's just, it's very petty. Some nice meals, some flights. That's great. That our mayor, New York's mayor, all it took to buy him was just treat him like a bad bitch for a night. Like, it's... Do you know how embarrassing that is? Do you know how much money is in New York? I need at least 6 skyscrapers to be as corrupt as Eric Adams. I'd be like, take care of me. No, I need land. What are you talking about, a flight? A flight where I might fall asleep and miss my corruption? No. Because you know, sometimes you get upgraded by your airline, you get all excited, you like, oh, I'm sitting in, got the extra leg room and everything. I can kick for no reason and stuff. And then you wake up at the destination and you're like, dang, I didn't even enjoy the free glass of champagne and orange juice. That's his level of corruption. It's so dumb. He sucks. But Eric Adams started as a cop, right? And I actually watched this video of him. It was a very entertaining watch. Basically, when he was a cop, he did a video. Maybe he was still a cop. I don't know. Maybe it retired. But anyway, he used his police expertise to make the video. And it's basically a video where he shows parents how to search their children's rooms for drugs and guns, right? And the thing that's amazing about it is that clearly one of two things happened. Either Eric Adams told whoever was shooting the video to just go fill a room full of crack, or Eric Adams kept using the same 6 crack rocks in between takes. Because he was pulling crack out of places that didn't really make any sense. Like those, when you have crack, the intention is to smoke it or sell it. And where he was pulling, because then first of all, the room didn't make sense because the room is supposed to be a child's room, right? But the room has stuff for a kid that's about to head off to college or somebody in preschool. Like, there's just too much going on in the room. The room makes sense if you were never going to leave that room for 26 years. Like, it doesn't... The room did not make sense at all. So then Eric Adams would do weird stuff like he'd be like, looks like a regular tricycle, right? But if you pop this tire right quick, you pop this tire, pull it out, what do we find? Crack cocaine. It was incredible. Like, looks like a regular doll, huh? But if you stab it in the back and rip it open, what do we find? Crack cocaine. And honestly, like, look, I even get the spirit behind what he's doing, but if your child is on crack, there will be other signs. Besides a heavy tricycle wheel. I've never seen a kid on a bike with a flat tire and been like, we're losing the youth. It's insane. This dude is over here going, a simple jewelry box. But if we open it, what do we find? A loaded gun. A pillow? You gave your child a pillow? And thought that they weren't gonna do the worst with it? You reach in that pillowcase, what do you find? A Glock. My favorite was standing near a bookcase. And he didn't say these words exactly, but the feeling that I got when I was watching him was just, you think your child reads? You think your little baby boy, baby girl reading in here? No. They're a child, and we all know children are what? Crackheads. You open this book, and what do you find? What spills out? Crack cocaine. No, it was incredible. It was truly, the only thing he did do was pull crack out of the gun. Like, and I can't stress this enough. Eric Adams is like terrible. He really is. Like, he really is. He's the worst. It's so bad. He sucks. He sucks so much. You should be so glad he's not your mayor. Like, that's. Oh man, I'll be honest with you. I didn't do the research. I don't know who your mayor is. I just know it's not Eric Adams. So you got 2 legs up on New York City. This dude, first of all, when he was running, he was corrupt. The dude was running, and he was already doing stuff where we were like, if it's not illegal, it's weird. This dude told the story of, because, he's a cop, and he reminds everybody all the time that he used to be a cop, right? And it depends, because he does a thing that's real sneaky. He's really good at it, right? Where he was a black cop. So in some rooms, he's black. In some rooms, I used to be a cop. And never the 2 rooms shall meet. If like... It's crazy. Okay, so this dude, when he was running, would tell the story of a fallen officer, right? His friend that he loved dearly, who died in the line of duty, and he loved his friend so much that he keeps a picture of him in his wallet with him all the time, right? And it's a heartwarming story because no matter your feelings on cops, no matter your feelings on like the criminal justice system, I think everyone can understand what it's like to lose a friend, right? You can understand what it's like to lose, especially when you lose a friend when you're both in danger. Maybe you both were in the military together. Maybe you're both cops. Maybe you served in some way and then you lost your friend. And no one's going to know what that was like except for people who it also happened to, right? And he kept the picture in his wallet. Except the picture in his wallet that he showed people was printed out by his staff members, and they threw a little coffee on it to make it look old. And that's before he did anything illegal. This dude is the devil. Like, he really sucks. This dude, I don't even know how he won. He doesn't live in New York. You know how usually you have to live where you're the mayor of? I'm not gonna make any assumptions about your mayor, but I'm assuming they live here. I imagine your mayor doesn't actually live in Illinois. That would be weird, right? To come over and be like, hey, I'm here with y'all. We're in this together. I'ma go, though. Dude lived in Jersey. And then it got outed that he lived in Jersey. And so at the last second, he had the New York Times try to help him cover it. And they did a profile of him at his house in Brooklyn that he was clearly walking into for the first time. This this dude walked in. You could tell he had never been in there before. He over here like, and as you can see, my wall. If you don't have one, you gotta get one. All right, these walls are fire. This dude walked in, and clearly, whatever staff was trying to help him look like he lived there I feel like they tried to like Ocean's 11 it and like did it a little too late because they were clearly moving stuff into the place to make it look furnished. But then he probably called them and told like, hey, I'm on the way now. Y'all got to get out because the apartment did not make sense. You walk in and in the living room is the bed. That's an intern who had to drop the bed like as they like, what? And then, you know, they go, he opens the fridge because he really tried to do this MTV Cribs for the New York Times, right? And so then he opens the fridge and he's like, blat out my snacks, right? And there is way too much meat for Adams to be a vegan. There's so much meat. It looked like it was stocked by Hillshire Farms. There's way too much meat in there. Not even mistakable meat. Not even like, oh, I thought the Impossible Burger. Like, it was full-on meat. And when they ask him about it, he's like, oh, my son be sneaking in, you know what I mean? You know, because you know how when you have kids, you know, as parents, you know how when you have kids, they sneak into your home and leave food, you know what I mean? In the fridge uneaten. You know how children are. All they do is leave food in the fridge and smoke crack. That's what children do. This dude is the worst. This man brought back stop and frisk. If you don't know what stop and frisk is, it was practice in New York where basically the police could stop you at any time and frisk you, check you for drugs and weapons and stuff like that. It was very popular under like Giuliani and stuff, but it was like found to be pretty disproportionate because they would just stay in one place and check everybody there. You know? So it was just black and brown people. It was mostly black and Hispanic people that were like stopped and frisked. And it didn't even really work because the people with guns and drugs were like, I'll stay home. You know? They found when they did studies on it that, you know, more often than not, it was men, over 9% men. So it's like 99.3% men of the stop and frisk. And then also in the 90s were black and brown people. So it was like, I think like 5% white, right? Which is just go all over New York. You're allowed to stop and frisk. Just stop and frisk everywhere. Just do the Upper West Side. Do you know what I mean? Just be like, hey, what's in the briefcase though? That could be full of anything. But they didn't, so it was found to be like an unconstitutional practice. It was found unconstitutional in 2013, and the New York police like disbanded fully in 2020, and then Eric Adams brought it back. Which is odd, because this is my thing about Eric Adams, and what I mean about that chameleon move that he does is that Eric Adams, I don't even know the exact particulars of the story. All I know is that he was arrested when he was a kid. Some people say he was a member of a gang himself, right? And that he, got beat up by the police. He tells this story of being a victim of police brutality at like 14, 15. Him and his friend got caught. They had done two things. I think they had stolen some checks or something, and they stole something else, and it was when they were trying to cash the stolen check they got caught, and basically they got beat up at the police station. And apparently the way that I believe Eric tells it is that these white cops were beating him and his friend up, and then a black cop came in and told him to stop. And he was like, and that was the moment I decided that I wanted to be a police officer, turn my life around, everything, because I just saw the way that black cop moved, right? He's like, I saw the power, the respect. I saw the fear that people had, and And I was like, Dad, oh, okay. It's a weird thing to pull from that lesson, but all right. We're all our own people. And so it's weird to me that he's so adamant about being punitive as someone who grew up the way that he grew up. It's very odd that he doesn't see himself in any of the youth that he wants to arrest or wants to punish. Like that's even only part of why he sucks. Like he sucks. This dude sucks so much. He's the worst. They opened the investigation into Eric Adams the way that the feds do, which is quietly. You know what I mean? The thing that's scary about the feds is that they always get you. Their conviction rate is in the 90s. So it's basically done. Like, do you know what I mean? Like when they show up, it's only a matter of time, right? And the feds opened an investigation into him, and this is like a year ago, that they came through and they were like, hey, we're gonna need everybody's cell phone. Your whole team, right? Which is already not great. Probably every mean thing I've ever said is on my cell phone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I try to be a good person, but if you pull up on me and you snatch my cell phone, you're gonna be like, oh, you an asshole, okay. The cell phone feels safe. You know, and the feds roll up and, take his laptop, his cell phone, everything. And this is how you know, this is how a guilty dude moves, right? So he goes ahead and gets swooped on when the feds come and get everybody's cell phone. And he's like, oh, actually, my cell phone, I don't have it on me, right? I don't have it. And they were like, okay, we'll bring it first thing tomorrow. And he brings it. Next day, brings it, right? And then he's like, actually, I had changed my password to keep my aides out of my phone, because you know how aides are, always trying to face ID you and see what your business is and everything, even though you emailed them personally and stuff. But like, try to keep my aides out of my phone. So went ahead and I'm giving it to you now, but just know that I had to change the password, keep my aides out of my phone, and I just forgot it. This dude moves like a man who cheats. Like, that's crazy. And the feds basically had so much on them that they were like, oh, we don't need your phone. Because we have every other phone that you text. Ooh. There's even instances of Adam's aides knowing things were illegal and then being like, y'all, this is illegal. They said it in the text, but y'all, this is illegal. I don't think he'll want to do it. And then you know that text bubble? He'd be like, hey, this is illegal. I don't know if he'll want to do it. And then the person from Turkey or wherever would be like, are you sure? And then the text bubble. That bubble be cooking, right? That bubble be bubbling up, right? And then it go away for a second. And then it come back and be like, never mind, he's down. The amount of times that his aide said to other people, this is illegal. And then several texts later be like, so when are we? It was incredible, man. It's really fascinating. And then there was like, I think it was like one of his campaign aides, one of the people that worked under him, was being interrogated. And as soon as she realized the interrogation wasn't friendly, she was like, can I go to the bathroom real quick? And so they were like, yeah, sure. And then she went to the bathroom and apparently started mass deleting as many text messages as she could. But then she was in there so long that the fans were like, she deleted text messages. Like, nobody got a boo-boo that bad. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe she is shitting herself, but not. I can just imagine. Imagine you realize your boss about to go to jail, you might go to jail too, and now you in the bathroom just. I'll be right out. Oh, it's bad. Oh no. Y'all still there? I can't stress this enough. This dude sucks. Like it's like, okay. Maybe one of the funniest things about the whole case is that we don't definitively know one way or the other, but there's a chance that this dude would, like, the last straw that broke everything, that had the roof come tumbling down, that kicked over his house of cards, might have been, maybe, Sabrina Carpenter. Inadvertently. I don't know if you remember, but Sabrina Carpenter did a music video for a song called Feather, right? And in that music video, she's in a church, right? And she got permission to be in that church. As controversial as everything was, and as much as the archdiocese freaked out after they saw the video and as upset as people were, she got permission, right? She did the right thing, and she asked, can I do my video here? She didn't just run in and be like, quick. She did everything by the book. Right? And the person that allowed her was a Monsignor, right? This Monsignor gave permission, shooting the church and everything. And then when the video comes out, obviously the archdiocese is all upset and stuff. They're like, nothing provocative or sexual should be in a church. That's what they said. Don't get weird with me. And so then they demoted the Monsignor. That's how mad they were, you know? They didn't fire him because I guess it's impossible to get fired at a church. You know, anybody else, any other job, they would have been like, you gotta go. But Catholic Church, they're like, no, we'll move you, don't worry. And basically, one of the things that came from that whole thing, especially how public it was the feds subpoenaed the archdiocese over the Monsignor because he had connections, like as in a relationship or maybe even a business relationship with Eric Adams' chief of staff, right? And so they were like looking into it, and then Sabrina Carpenter's moved on. She just sort of like, oh, I didn't realize it. Whoops. And I don't know. I think that people don't realize how much trouble Eric Adams is in because this isn't like a police thing. This isn't like a local police or something. Like local police could run cover for a mayor. And so Eric Adams gets indicted, right? Present day, he gets indicted, and this dude holds a press conference. It's one of the worst press conferences I've ever watched in my entire life. This is incredible. People talk about Giuliani and everything when he did that 4 Seasons press conference and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, this one put that one to shame, okay? This one was really, but first of all, they decided to do it outside. I don't really know why, but maybe he's not allowed in buildings. I have no idea, but they decided to do it outside, and they had a tent up because it was raining. But Eric Adams and he does this a lot. He does this in a way, this is one of the reasons I can't stand Eric Adams. This is one of the things that makes him suck, right? Is that whenever he's in trouble, whenever he needs something, he's very, very black. You know, and so now that he's in trouble, he has gathered around him every black person that will stand next to him, I suppose. And so he had everybody. He had so many people that they couldn't all fit under the tent. So now there are some people getting rained on halfway, just trying to lean in and everything. Do the one-sided thing. And the press conference starts, and there's protesters at the press conference. And, you know, Adams did some weird stuff. Like when he got indicted, he did like a message to New Yorkers and everything. And in the message, he says, like, I knew as soon as I stood up for New York, I would become a target. And then we were like, when did you stand up and who is targeting you? Like, this is odd. I've heard this language before, but I've never seen it make less sense since the last time I heard it. Yeah. And finally, you know, he goes ahead, he's doing press conference and stuff, and there's protesters there. And the protesters are screaming at him. They're like, you're an embarrassment. Don't try to act black now. You brought back stop and frisk. You brought back every policy that came down hard on the black community, but now you want to be black because you're in trouble and you want us to back you up at everything. And they're yelling. And the whole time, Eric Adams like, You ever been at a restaurant and there's a couple trying not to fight? And then finally, one of them can't take it anymore, and she stands up, and she's like, you cheating bastard, or whatever. And then he's like, It was that. And so he just stands like, okay. And then he lets people speak for him, right? So his pastor speaks, and his other pastor speaks, and I think another pastor speaks. You go to extra church when you're in trouble, right? So then pastor after pastor after pastor are speaking, right? And all the pastors are like, hey, listen, we don't even know. Everybody has to have their day in court. Like, no one is actually professing this dude's innocence. Everybody's like, yeah, you can't judge lest ye be judged. And once again, remember, I told you it's one of the worst press conferences I've ever seen, because not only can not everybody fit under the tent, and not only are the people not making a convincing argument for Adams to be innocent, which is what we would very much like our elected official to be, right? This one lady gets up there, and she's been the loudest against the other protest. She's like, shut up, let him speak, blah, 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 right? And so it's her turn to speak. And then she gets up there, and she's like, good morning, New York! Like, she's just trying to shout everybody down. She's like, I've known Eric Adams for 40 years! And she's just screaming, right? And he is completely... And then the mic starts going out. Completely... And another thing... And he's not corrupt with it. Thank you. And then the dude went up there, and I don't really know what his position was. I don't know. He might have just been a black dude Eric Adams pulled that day, because this guy gets up there and he goes, good morning, New York. Good morning, New York. I've known Eric Adams for years, and he is, for 64 years, he has loved and served New York, and we cannot throw away 64 years over 5 indictments. He is 64. And I was like, where's the logic going here? You want that dude to be innocent because he's 64? Like, is that... There's no way he served 64. He just is alive for 64 years. But this dude was slick with it. He was like, do not throw away 64 years over 5 indictments. Nobody gonna kill him. Like, what are you talking about? Throwing away 64, we're not dating him. He got indicted. Do not throw away 64 years over 5 indictments. He is 64, thank you. I feel like that's the only dude that Eric Adams was like, probably should let that be a tweet. And then it's Eric Adams' turn, right? And then counter protesters are yelling. They're like, "You're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to black people. You are an absolute embarrassment to the city. Okay? You trying to make it a black thing. It's not a black thing. It's a you thing. You're corrupt. You're corrupt by yourself. It's not a black thing. It's a you thing." Right? This dude's screaming. And he's like, "What? Why is anything you're saying different from Trump? You talking about you stand in the way. Stand in the way of what? You corrupt by yourself." Right? And then Eric Adams like, and then he starts taking questions, right? And some of the questions were, you said that as soon as you stood up for New Yorkers, you would become a target. Who do you think you're a target of? Like Homeland Security, or what? There are government bodies that are serving you this indictment. Who do you think is targeting you and why? And then he was like, "That's a question for the federal government." And I was like, okay, not a great start. And then he goes, "Let me just get something clear right now." All right? And then the mic cuts out completely. It's like, "I just want to say to y'all, that's all I gotta say." It was incredible, Incredible. I don't know. I would love to see Eric Adams go to Rikers. I mean, particularly because of the terrible job he's done with Rikers. Just so you know, Rikers is a horrific place. It's been compared to Guantanamo Bay. Mainly because most of the people in Rikers, around 85%, have not been convicted of a crime. They just cannot afford to get off Rikers. They can't afford to pay bail and stuff like that. But they sit there until the trial, and the trial is sometimes 8 months away, 9 months away. So they're potentially innocent people just sitting there, rotting in a jail in terrible conditions because they just didn't have money. Any one of us could not have money. Most of us don't have enough money for the things we would like. So that's how close we are to being them. And it's so bad that there's a federal monitor that's like over Rikers. And Eric Adams has worked with Rikers to subvert everything that would have them comply with the federal monitor, right? It's horrific. And all they've really done is like try to throw money and staffing at the problem, but then money and staffing have become the problem because now Rikers is such a cushy job that there are a lot of people who don't show up for work. So now they really are wasting money because they'll be understaffed on a day where everyone is scheduled and then everyone calls in sick. And then people die at Rikers. People die every year at Rikers. It's absolutely insane. And the staffing, if I'm correct, maybe I'm wrong, right? But last time I looked it up, the staffing was like 2 to 1. Right. No jail has 2 to 1. Right. No jail anywhere has 2 to 1, And so what a poetic thing it would be, for the guy that a year ago gave the key to the city to Diddy. To also be like indicted and charged and sitting in Rikers. It'd be dope to see Eric Adams at Rikers. They just, he gets there and they're like, "What's up, buddy?" "Let's talk." Oh. And so many people have resigned too. So many people have resigned from Eric Adams' administration that I don't know who works at New York anymore. It's a lot of people. People nobody was talking to, by the way. Like people who just are like, I'm just in charge of the library, but I'm going to go because the block is hot. I don't want these problems.
Mira.